Oh, hello! It's the 24th week in Ordinary Time, and this is Extraordinary. So, welcome back to Extraordinary. If you've been following us over the last few weeks, you'll know every Sunday we rock up with all the things you need to know about the week coming up in our diocese, in our church, and in our world. Hopefully you guys have got your Extraordinary sheets. They look a bit like this. You can download them from NDCYS.com and go to the Extraordinary section, and you can pick down the PDF, and then it gives you a little wall sheet that you can either print off for your bedroom or your classroom or your form room, and have that there as a reference for that week so you know what we're praying for. This week's word of the week is community. How we work as part of a team and how God calls us to be part of one community together with Christ at the centre. What you might want to think about this week is ways in which you can do some good stuff for some other people, ways in which you can make sacrifices for other people, ways in which you can love other people, because a community only works when everyone works for each other. So have a think about what you're going to do in your community this week. And of course, remembering that this week we're also part of the wider church community, it's time to have a look at the dates and have a look at the saints and the feasts that we'll be celebrating this week. Boom, heading on to our first day, Sunday, 24th Sunday in Ordinary Time. Remember, Ordinary Time doesn't mean boring or kind of like not important. Ordo comes from the Latin meaning normal, so it's just that a normal worship of this weekend with the normal scripture readings and the normal gospel readings. Still really important, still a great celebration. On the Monday, we're going to hit up a guy called Saint Robert Bellarmine, Bishop and Doctor. No, not that kind. This kind. And by doctor, he's one of only 36 doctors of the church, which means that he's super important when it comes to church teaching and it comes to church understanding, and one of the people that's contributed to how we understand scripture and God and the world. And he kind of fed into something called the Council of Trent, which was super important for figuring out what we believe way back in the day. On Wednesday, we look at a number of different saints, one of whom is Saint Januarius. Every time you see the colour red for a saint, that means they died for their faith, because of course red is the colour of blood. Now, interesting fact time, St. Januarius' blood is still preserved in a kind of vessel in Naples, where he was the bishop of. And every year on his feast day, they take this blood, which is, of course has kind of gone like rock solid because it's quite old, and then they kind of move it around a bit, and it turns back into liquid on his feast day in something called liquefaction. Yeah, so you can hopefully see some footage of that right now. And every year they kind of get this blood out, which is his blood, and then it kind of goes from solid to being liquid. And it's really cool and really interesting. So do some more research on that, because it's super cool. On Thursday, we're looking at Saint Andrew Kim Tae-gon and his companions, Paul Chong Hasang and their other priests that were killed as part of the kind of martyrdom that took place in Korea. And this week, actually, on a week when we're talking about community, we're looking at a lot of people who made sacrifices, who gave literally their whole lives for the good of other people and for the good of the church. Inspires us really to kind of give of what we can to other people. On Friday, we got one of the big hitters. We got St. Matthew the Apostle, like actual Matthew off of Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, one of the gospel writers. Really important guy, St. Matthew the Apostle, because he is one of those people we always turn to understand what Jesus did, where we hear about Jesus' life from people like St. Matthew. So really cool guy. Maybe on Friday, read something from Matthew's Gospel. Most importantly, this week, think about how you can work as part of a community. Think about the saints who are part of our community in heaven, and think about the people who are part of your community in your lives. Love them, cherish them, be with them, and I think you'll be all right. See you next week.